Hello everyone. For today's Resolution 3, we are going to be looking at data transformation and pattern finding from datasets. The topics we are going to be covering today are table function, subset function, tapply function, and some finding patterns from plots with some good and some bad examples, and also a few extra functions that will surely help you. Before moving on to today's topic, let me give you some information about the motivation for today's discussion. The first is getting started at data overload. Another more important motivation is for you to be able to perform basic analysis on the provided data. For you to be confident and skilled to create or find patterns and make hypotheses using the data or the plots. Using these limited functions that you have learned from the first three recitations and the analysis techniques that you have learned, you will be able to gain some information from the dataset that you will be able to use. For more motivation, please look at Professor's R7 slides. In those professor slides, the professor has summed up a summary of 7 commands that will help you perform data 101 tasks, out of which 4 are basic plotting commands and 3 are these functions that we are going to be learning today. So let's move on to the first topic of the day. The first topic is the table function. So the table function is used to create a contingency table of the counts of each combination of factors. What does this mean? It means that we use this table function to create a frequency table of the categorical vectors or data representations. Let us look at an example of table function. First example, to get the count of each unique category from a categorical data. Looking at the example from the Moody's dataset, suppose we need to find what is the frequency or what is the amount of students or count of the students who get a particular grade. So I create a table based on Moody's grade, store it in table example 1, and I'll just plot use a bar plot. For against each grade, there is a corresponding count number which represents the amount of students present in the dataset with grade A, B, C respectively. You can see this distribution that comes out from this dataset. Another example is, suppose I want to find or make a table of 2 categorical vectors. So to do that, on the Moody's dataset, I choose grade and ask question. So for corresponding grades, I'll find what the student has done in the term of asking questions. So I create a table using Moody grade and Moody ask question. This is what the table looks like. So we can see for each grade, there is a count of students who are always ask question, never ask question, or sometime ask question. Just plotting this using the mosaic function, we get a plot like this. To summarize the table function, we can see that putting the column or a categorical vector in the table function, we get a matrix with the categories and the frequency corresponding to that categories from that vector. Moving on to the next function, subset function. The use of the subset function is to get subset of vectors, matrices, or data frame with a certain condition. So the subset function in R programming is used to create a subset of vectors, matrices, or data frames based on the condition provided in the parameters. So suppose I want to find a subset or I want to get a subset of data frame based on certain conditions or certain restrictions, I will use subset function. The syntax for the subset function is subset in bracket x, which is your object or data frame or vector, followed by a subset and a select parameter. The subset indicates a logical expression on the basis of which subsetting needs to be done. That is, these represent the constraints on this subset you want to create. Select is a parameter that is used to select only the columns of the data frame provided in X. Note that you can also create a subset not only using the subset function, but also there are 2 different ways. The first is you can use the box operator or the box brackets. For example, you just give the data frame name and in the box bracket you write whatever the column name you want to subset. As suppose as if you are writing the select function, the column name in the select function. Second, you can also use the dollar operator. For example, data frame name dollar column name gives you the column vector. Let us look at few examples of the subset function. The first example we are going to do are subset of rows. In this example, we get only students who never are on smartphone in the class. To do that, we write subset on Moody data frame with the constraint of on smartphone equal to never. Using this, we see the end rows, the number of rows in the Moody data frame are 1580, but after the subset, the number of rows in the Moody never smartphone, which is the subset, have been reduced to 1171. We can also see the table of the subset based on this, where we find that all the categories, the remaining categories in this subset is only never. The second example of the subset function is to get columns. So as I said previously, we use the select parameter of the subset function to select some columns. Over here, we will get all the columns except column number 8 from the data frame. So we write subset, the data frame name, comma, select, and we write -c with 8. This represents that we need to select all other columns except the 8th column. So we can see the number of columns in the original subset is 8, but the number of columns in Moody subset is in the subset that we created is 7. Another example on subset function. So suppose I want to subset on 2 factors, combining both of the previous examples of rows and columns. So let's look at how we will do that. In the subset function, we will write the data frame name, and using the select parameter, we will give that we don't want to select the row 8. Also, using the constraint parameters, we will write that on smartphones equal to never. So we can see the dimensions of the original dataset are 1580 to 8, and the dimension of the new subset, where we have reduced the rows and also we have subsetted on the columns, is 1171 with just 7 columns. The next function that we are going to be looking at is the tuple function, or the tapply function. This function is used to apply a selective function on each cell of a reged array or each cell of a vector or column. For each group of values given by a unique combination of certain factors, we use a tuple function. The tuple function in R is used to apply a function over a subset of vectors given by the combination of factors. The syntax of the tuple function is vector followed by the factors and the function you want to apply. The vector is the data frame or the vector that you want to apply the function on. The factors are by which the vector will be categorized, and the function is the function that which will be applied to those vectors. We will see that the tuple function is a very versatile function. Note that we can also use a different aggregate functions in the tuple. For example, mean, median, variance, sum, length, etc. Let us look at an example of the tuple function. Suppose I want to calculate the score mean of each student of the students in the Moody dataset based on or categorized by the on smartphone vector. So the vector over here is the score column. The factor that I'm going to be factorizing the vector is on smartphone, and we are going to be finding mean. That is the function that will be applying on the vector. So to do that, we just write tuple Moody score, Moody on smartphone, and mean. We get this stats. The always has the mean of 53.1, frequently has score mean of 72, never has score mean of 46, and rarely has score mean of 46. Another example is to use tuple on multiple factors. So suppose I want to use 2 factors on the grade of the students. So on the Moodle dataset, I will provide Moodle grade and the list of factors that I want to use and the function that I want to apply. So here I want to count the number of students who get particular grade based on their use of smartphone. So to do that, we write the tuple function Moodle grade list, in which we provide parameters Moodle on smartphone and Moodle grade, and then we write the function length, which counts the number of students. We can see the table over here where we see always has only one student grading C grade, frequently on smartphone, with 98 students with A, 80 students with B, and so on. We can also see the plot over here. As you can see, the tuple function is a very versatile function and is very helpful in applying function directly to the subset of vectors based on some factors. Now, let us look at some pattern finding. So until now, we have mastered data plotting, and also we have looked how to transform data or to subselect data using these functions. Now we will look at some use case of it, which is finding patterns. So what we need to do is we need to gather new information based on these plots and to make patterns, to make hypotheses, and to deduce or form claims based on them. So this is useful, as you might have seen from the homework too. So just to recap, the Moodle grade distribution looks like something like this, which is a normal distribution. Also, the box plot of the grades looks something like this. So let us look at a good example of finding pattern. So suppose I want to get the frequency of students conditioned on students who never and always use the smartphone in class. So here we have two constraints. First is to exclude students who are always on smartphone, and second is to exclude students who are never on smartphone. Then using that, we will create a bar plot and let's see what we find out about the use of smartphone on the grade of students. This is the code for the example, and as we can see, we have extracted two rows, frequently and rarely, from the on smartphone category, and we have count the number of students who get the particular grade. We can see from this plot some interesting distribution for this grade of students. First is that students who are frequently on smartphone get a lot more of A's and B's. Second, the students who are rarely on smartphone either did well, that is they got D, or they got F, which is bad. Thus, this is a good example of pattern finding from plots, where you can see that there is some relation between the use of smartphone and the grade that the student achieves. Let us look at a bad example that you can create using this on this Moodle dataset. So let us look at a bar plot of the grade factored by student who always use their smartphone in class. So here we just have one constraint, that is student who always use their smartphone in class. Then we will create the bar plot as the previous example. So we can see that only one student falls in this category. Since this is a very small sample size, we cannot definitely say that the student who are on smartphone always will definitely get C grade. Thus, this is a bad example of pattern finding from plots. Let us look at another example which is bad. So let us look at the grade distribution of people who sometimes or are never late for class. So here we have two constraints, student who are sometimes late for class and second, student who are never late for class. We will again plot a bar plot using these constraints, and then we will see how the grade distribution of student compares to the original grade distribution. As we can see from the plot that this follows the distribution that is very similar to the original distribution of the grades, which is normal distribution. So this is a bad example since we cannot conclusively say that selecting these never and sometimes of being late in class affects on the final grade of the student. This goes to show that not all plots are informative. And so if you are generating some plots, you must be able to differentiate what is a good and a bad example. These are some extra functions that I leave for the reader to understand from the slides itself. So to conclude and to give some notes, you can see that these functions are very useful for transforming data for our use. There are multiple more like rbind, cbind, lapply, mlapply, etc. So please look at the Data 101 Laboratory Transformation folder that I have linked in the slides. And you can also find a very good examples of these functions on geekforgreeks.org. And a disclaimer, the findings in these plots are based on this dataset only, and the claims may or may not be valid in real world. So please consider it for academic purpose only. Thank you.